Well, now that we saw the more important concepts of the sculpting, we are going to begin with the first practical exercise. The idea is to make a simple model, but a model in where we can apply all the tools we saw in the last videos. So the idea is to create this chess horse. I think this horse is an ideal piece because it has some organic shapes that could be an interesting challenge to someone that is just beginning with the sculpting. So here I have this program. It is called PureRef. This is to handle reference image. This is super recommended. I'm going to make a print screen. We are going to take only this horse, Ctrl C and Ctrl V here in the PureRef, and I will use this horse as the reference. I will go back to Blender and we are going to begin sculpting this guy. Well, for first, I'm going to create the base. We are going to model this base with simple shapes. I will extrude this. I will put it in orthographic, extrude it, scale it, extrude it up, scale it, extrude, scale, extrude, scale, and so. This way until we get something like the shape we have in the reference. And something like this. I will select these two loops. I will press S and Shift C to block the Z axis. I will select all this bottom area and move it with G and C. Okay, and we have this base. I'm going to subdivide it. I will create some support loops with Ctrl R to keep the shape. One more loop here. I will add one more level of subdivision. We can move this a little bit up. Let's scale it a little. Okay. Well, we are going to use it like this. One last adjustment here. And here. Okay, let's continue. We are going to add some geometry. It could be an UV sphere. I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to enter sculpt mode. And I will activate the symmetry in X. I'm going to use the grab brush to create the bigger shapes. I will move all this geometry, trying to make the same shape of the horse in the reference. So we are going to make the silhouette to something like this. Something more or less like this. I will select again the grab brush and move it. And at this point, I feel that we need more geometry. We have some stretched polygons, so I'm going to use the remesh with Ctrl R to create new geometry. I will move this here, this way. Well, we are going to continue with this resolution. We are going to continue with the ears. I will move this a little bit back. I will erase all this grease pencil with D, by the way. Pressing D and left click, we can draw. And with D and right click, we can erase that pencil. I will continue adjusting. And maybe a little bit taller. Let's move this back. And Ctrl R again to remesh. The ears of this horse are pointing front, but I will press Ctrl Shift click in the image to flip the image. And I will continue adjusting the shape. The ears should be pointing to the front. It has more pronounced the forehead. You need to be very detailed with the shape. Here, for example, I need to push this inwards. In the front side, for example, this is more pronounced, like this. And the back side should be more curved, like this. I will push this a bit more. Okay. And well, at this point, I feel that we need more geometry. So in the remesh, I will continue decreasing the size. I will put it in 0.6 and remesh with Ctrl R. Okay. I will continue adjusting the shape. Here, for example, I feel that this is too pronounced. I will move it back. I will soften it. And at this point, we want to mark these sharp edges. To do that, the best thing we can do is to use this crease brush. Let's select the brush or use the shortcut. And in this moment, this brush is inverted. So over here, let's activate the pen pressure and invert the brush. I will decrease the strength of the brush, and in the fall-off, we are going to change it to sharp. And now we are going to draw these sharp edges. We want to mark all these sharp edges in the reference. I will draw all these sharp edges around here in the back side. This should be more pronounced. Okay. I will smooth this a little. And in the reference, this looks thinner, so I will push it inwards to make it thinner. Here we have like a mountain in this area, so for this case it's very useful this brush scrape. We are going to flatten all the back side. I will continue adjusting the shape with grab. Okay. Here we want to add more volume in this area. I will use again the crease brush to mark this sharp edge. This way. Well, right here we have one more edge, one more here, not that strong. And don't worry if your model is looking weird. It's important to mark these sharp edges first, and then we're going to polish. I will put this here, move it inwards. Here I will mark this sharp line. Here we have the mouth. We need to move it down. I feel that here we need more resolution, so I will decrease even more this number. I'm going to put 0.03 and Ctrl R to remesh again. Let's smooth everything. I will move this to the front and continue adjusting the shape. Here we have the forehead. This is more pronounced here. Move it up. Here in the ears, we need to mark this sharp edge in the opposite direction with Ctrl, something like this. Smooth it a little and move the ears backwards. All of this is an observation process. We need to increase the size of the ears. And okay, we are going to continue using the scrape brush to flatten all these areas. Here we need to push the mouth. With crease, we can create the hole. Here we need to put the holes for the nose. I will push it to the front. Let's put more volume and continue adjusting. I will use again the scrape brush to flatten these areas, or no, maybe not. Maybe let's continue with this triangle we have here. I want to mark it first with the crease brush, like this. I will use the clay strip brush to put some volume, and then the scrape brush again to flatten it. Okay, this scrape brush is also very useful to polish all the surface to something like this. If we pass the brush very softly several times, we are going to flatten all those areas. I will soften everything. I will correct this shape. Let's polish the shape, and at this point I think we can mark the eye. I will put it to something like this, okay? And don't worry too much for the shape, we're going to polish it later, and we're going to add even more geometry. I will put it in 0.01. Okay, and smooth everything. And we can start using the pinch brush. Select the pinch, and with it we can sharpen all these edges. You can see that the edges are very sharp now, very polished. We are going to continue adjusting the mouth with clay strips. I will add a little bit more of geometry. I will use again the scrape brush to flatten this area. And we are going to use the pinch again to mark all these edges down here. This line is going to continue here in the neck. Okay. And soften everything around. And well, at this point we are going to have some very sharp lines. Pinch again to mark this triangle. Soften everything. In fact, we should move this triangle more to the top. If we see a reference, this is more or less in this point. Let's flatten again the forehead. I will use it again in the back side. And well, from this point we're going to accelerate the video. All of this is going to be mostly polishing. If you consider it's necessary, you can make a new remesh. You can add more geometry if you like. But you could see that I will continue applying basically the same techniques. Okay guys, here we have finished more or less this wooden horse, and in the time-lapse you could see all the techniques I have applied. Basically it consists in create a shape, sharpen the edges with the pinch brush, move the big shapes with grab, and polish all the surface. This can take some time. Actually, we can improve a lot the details in this model. But we're going to stop at this point. The important thing is that you create the main shapes and experiment with all these brushes and finish with a decent shape like this one. This is a first approach, so don't worry if your model doesn't look nice. At the beginning, your model is not going to be perfect. This is something that requires time and practice, a lot of practice, but with the time, you're going to get the ability. So this was the first result, and you can share your result in the Facebook group. There you could have some feedback and get some ideas of how to improve. And here, for example, I can improve some things. We can sharpen some edges better. For example, the eyes could be more sharp. The shape of this mode could be improved as well. But in general, this is a decent result. And well, I hope you have enjoyed this first approach to the sculpting. I will give you this file to download it if you want it. It is going to be in the downloadable resources, and I will see you in the next video.